Hi everyone, welcome back to our virtual workshops. I'm Lindsay and I'm going to be guiding you through the holiday wreath making class today. So grab all your materials and we'll go ahead and get started. So what you're going to need is your grapevine wreath, your basket of greens, which is absolutely overflowing. We're not going to use all of these today, so just be mindful of that. You will have extra, so don't panic if you feel like there's a bunch left at the end. That's totally fine. You have a gold ribbon like this, and you can go ahead and unravel that, and we'll tie that bow first. And then a couple mechanics that you need. We've got some long wires like this that are perfect for attaching our ribbon. That's how we're going to use those. And then we have our paddle wire, which is how we are going to affix everything to our grapevine wreath. We have a bunch of magnolia. We have assorted dried elements, dried mushrooms, pine cones, and then we have assorted ornaments as well. A couple of these strands of white pearlescent berries that we're going to use. And then the final mechanic that you should have are these wired hyacinth sticks. So this is how we're going to affix our ornaments as we create the wreath. So set everything up. Go ahead and take your time as you're getting everything out. You can kind of sort it. I've created a little station for myself to help stay organized. So go ahead and take a few moments to kind of set everything into piles so you can stay organized as we go. I've got all my things set out already. So I've used some bowls to organize my ornaments, my dried goods. I've got my wire over here, my ribbon, and then my greens. And make sure you have a big surface. I'm already running out of space on my table, but definitely spread out. So there's a lot of things that we have today that we're going to use. So as you kind of get sorted, and I keep talking while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and grab our ribbon first because that's the first thing I want to create. So with this grapevine wreath, we are not going to cover this entire thing. Like I said before, we will have extra greens at the end. So if you want to go back in and add, you can definitely do that. So feel free to kind of, make it your own at the end. But what I'm going to do is a look that is kind of like a crescent moon, where the bow is a little bit off center to the side here. And then we are going to have green spraying out from the bow. And I'm going to leave a little part of the wreath bare. So just know that that's what I'm doing. That's my plan. And if you want to go back in at the end and fill in or cover it completely, you're more than welcome to. I'm just going to show you the basic look today. So first of all, unravel your ribbon. It looks huge. So there's a couple of different ways that you can use this. If you like your tail smaller at the end, I'll talk you through that. So how we make our bows is kind of an accordion style pleat. So you're going to take this and we're going to make an 8-loop bow today. So you take your first end, fold it, and you make that first loop. And when you're making that first loop, you're going to pinch in the middle. So you're always holding on to that end. You want to make sure that it sticks out a little bit so it's not sliding out as you're making your other loops. So you can make the loops a little bigger than you might think you need, just because when you are pinching it, you kind of lose some of that size. So pinch, and since this is a double-sided ribbon, we don't have to do any fancy twisting in the middle. You just are going to take that loop, fold, and accordion that back. So right away, you've got 2 loops. So those are your first loops. Pinch, and you can put your hand at the top like so. And then you're going to keep creating loops. So you're going to take your next one, match it about the same size as the loop above, and then pinch in the middle. Same thing here. Easiest way to do that so you don't let go of anything is switch hands really quickly. So you're gonna loop that side and mimic that same size as that first one you did. So you've got 2 on each side. So when I say 8 loops, you're gonna have 4 on each side. So take my third loop, like that, it's coming along. And then my third on this side, like that. And as you go, you can kind of straighten your loops out, but it's not supposed to look pretty while you're making it. This is not gorgeous right now. So just know that at the end, it takes a lot of fluffing to kind of get it to the shape you want and make it pretty. So as you're going, just worry about accordioning it and don't worry about how it looks. So take my 4th and final loop on that side and kind of see how they're all the same size or as close as possible. And then we're gonna take this and make that final loop on that side. So once you've got your 8 loops, you're gonna take that ribbon. What you're gonna do, if you like your tails to be really long on your wreath, so on your ribbon for your wreath, so I love the trailing tails look that this is gonna give. So I'm going to leave this as a 4 loop on each side as an 8 loop bow and trail this and then trim them a little bit. If you are someone who likes it a little more modern looking, you can cut it shorter. You also probably have enough to do a 5th loop on each side if you were into the short loop look, and then also still use the tails. I'm gonna keep mine long, so I'm gonna stick with the 8 and then just loop it once. So how you make those tails is you take the end of the piece that you just accordioned last and you loop it like a circle, like that. Sorry, it's freezing in here, so my nose is a little runny today. So you loop it and you take this piece that's cut and you press it flat to the bottom and you pinch it in with your loops. So it's all part of one unit. And you wanna make sure that it overlaps enough here so it isn't gonna slide out. So make sure that it's overlapping, kind of like how we did in the beginning, just to make sure it's sturdy and you can kind of pull on it to make sure that you have enough overlap. And that is how your tails will be made. So what you're going to do is grab, and sorry if I have my back turned to you a little bit, I'm just grabbing things behind me. So you're gonna take one of these wires and you're gonna wire your ribbon right around the center. And like I said, don't worry about it being messy in the middle. We're not looking absolutely perfect. You're gonna wire that really tightly. So I'll get close to this, but you're gonna take your wire and you're going to twist really hard right up close to the ribbon. And that is how your bow is gonna be secured. So then you'll have the long pieces of your ribbon. See that sticking out? So you can use this to wire on your bow. And we're doing this first so we can see the size of it, so we don't have to waste time putting things on the wreath where there's just gonna be a ribbon. So we've got the ribbon going, and this is when we would start to fluff. So it looks like this. It's not the prettiest thing ever. This is where the magic happens, is really maneuvering this. So what I like to do is always take one and kind of put it in the center. And then the others, you're gonna kind of build around. So this will kind of be my center point, and then everything else you want to kind of fluff up and out and really make that have a really nice shape. So you see how that's coming together nicely. It looks so much better than when it was flat. So that is my ribbon, and then you can cover those mechanics. When you're fluffing, you won't see the wire because everything will be covered by your pretty loops. So make all those loops. That's my bow. And then since we've got these long tails, I'm gonna go ahead and cut them. Oh, and I did forget to mention that you will need scissors. So grab scissors and obviously your floral clippers that we need every class. So for tails, you can do a couple things. You can just do them at an angle. So I like to, if I'm doing it at an angle, I like to cut quite a sharp angle. So you can really tell that you did it on purpose. Or another thing you can do is make a V, which is really nice and festive. So I'm gonna do a V. And again, with this way, you're gonna hold these two pieces together like that. And then what you can do, a little easy hack for making your ribbon V's perfect, is fold it in half like that. So see how I took that, fold in half, and then you're gonna cut a sharp angle from the inside, the soft part, or the outside, however you're holding it, but you're gonna cut from soft to the wired part at a sharp angle upward. So if you're holding your soft part here, you're gonna cut hard upward angle that way, and then you get those perfect little ends. So that's our bow. If you wanna leave it long, if you wanna leave those tails long, you can do a couple things with it. So I'm gonna actually just fix that for a second so I can get a realistic view of where I need to leave there. So this is like, it looks nice, but the tails need some mint to them. So you can kind of crimp your ends. So think of it like you're waving your hair or something. You want to kind of bend everything so it gives like more of a natural falling look rather than just sticking straight down. So you can make those like that. So, and then when it's on, you can kind of fluff like that. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start grabbing bunches of our greens. So I'm putting that there so I know the size, but we're not going to leave that there while we affix everything else. It'll just get in the way. So just make a mental note of where your bow is falling and how much space that's taking up. And then we're going to start adding the greens from the bottom up. So now we know it's like from here to here that we're not going to need to put anything. So that means we can leave those ugly stems exposed at the top. And we'll cover it up with the bow at the end. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start making bunches of greens. So we've got this gorgeous cedar in these peach baskets. These came from Farmer Dave, who is one of our favorite people who comes to visit us at Helen Olivia. And he actually brought these greens in these Georgia peach farmers peach baskets. So it's the cutest little basket. Honestly, it's perfect for like front step holiday decor, or it looks really cute on like a fireplace. So definitely use this in some way. It's the cutest little basket. We're gonna take greens, and what we're gonna start doing is I've kind of pulled some aside just so I can show you right away. But you're gonna cut your green bunches apart, and you are going to make little bunches of about 3 to 4 pieces. So keep them pretty short, like this. And then I have 4 pieces in my hand. So I'm going to stack the 4 pieces on top of each other. And then just like that, we're gonna take our paddle wire, which is what is gonna attach everything to this wreath. I'm gonna take our paddle wire and we are going to have our stems pointing upwards. So I'm gonna start right here and I am going to, sorry, the lighting is not great from this angle. Better. We're gonna start from the bottom here and, sorry, I actually want to flip this around. Maybe like that. Okay. And we are going to, there we go. Affix this with the stems. You're gonna have your stems pointing up towards that bow placement, and then you're gonna tie it on there. And like I said, I'm gonna leave this like a crescent moon with an open part here. And I'm gonna have it open right across from my bow. So I'm gonna leave about this much open, and I'm gonna start my first piece right there. And you have that little grouping. You're gonna get your paddle wire ready. So unwrap the end of it. And then I'm doing this on an easel. You could be doing this on the counter, and it's a lot easier to kind of get a handle on it. So bear with me. I hope it doesn't fall. But you're going to take your first bunch and hold that tight and wrap the wire a couple times for security. So just like that. And the great thing about this cedar is that it has this lovely flowiness to it. So it can really kind of hang. It can hang, and I'm gonna cut my head off because I'm tall, but, and then it'll really kind of drape around this and create some drama. So that's gonna be really nice to look at. I'm gonna keep my paddle wire attached, and I'm not gonna cut it after I loop every time, especially if you're doing this down on your kitchen counter. It's way easier to just leave the paddle wire and just add and keep wrapping as we go, rather than cutting every time. It's just gonna make things a lot easier. So I don't have a surface to put it on, so I'm gonna put it right there for now. We'll see how long that lasts for me. But, so we're gonna keep going for our next grouping. So same as last, I'm gonna make a grouping of about 4 pieces. And if you want it fuller, you can do more. If you want it to be a little more sparse, you can do less. It's totally up to you. I'm just showing you the basic mechanics, and it's really up to you and how you want it to look. So I'm gonna do these kind of fuller pieces, and then you see how that draping ends right there? You're just gonna add your next piece right on top of it, so it's all draping the same way, and it's one uniform swoop of greens. So you're gonna take your paddle wire, which is right here, still on my wreath, and you're gonna lay these next set of stems here, and you're gonna wrap it around. And don't be afraid to wrap right on top of the cedar, right on top of the greenery. With the color of the wire and the amount that we are going to be layering, you're not even gonna be able to tell that, that there's wire there. So wrap, 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 wrap. And you just want to make sure it's secure, especially with the windy day we had 2 days ago. You don't want it to blow, anything to blow off when it's on your door. So wrap and make it as secure as possible. So we're just going to keep doing that. So we've got our first 2 groupings, and we're going to go all the way to here. And then on the other side, we're going to go from here to there. And at the top, we're going to do our magnolia. So the magnolia will be the last greenery that we put in. So we've got our next grouping, and when it's something like this, these are kind of long. So what I would do is split this, take this top piece and the bottom pieces, and make that a grouping. That's 2 pieces, and then I'm going with 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you have anything that's kind of uglier, this isn't ugly, but you can see that stem in the middle, just layer it in the back of that grouping. You won't even notice. So it's really a foolproof way of, people will think you're an absolute pro because you've made your own wreath. But there's an easy way to hide any imperfections that you see as you're going. So you take the next one, stems upward toward the top, and you're gonna lay that right on top of the last. And sorry for blocking your view. It's hard to do this standing up, but I mean, feel free to stand up. And you're gonna wrap that tight, 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 tight. So wrap it, I would wrap it like at least 3 times. That's kind of this. See how we're getting that gorgeous drape. Love it. Okay. So I'm gonna bust out the next bunch from my basket. And there's just so much in here. So generous with Farmer Dave. So definitely try to think of different ways to use this greenery. You could use this extra that we have. And again, I'm just doing the same thing as I'm talking to you. I'm just making the same kind of little groupings as we go. But there will be so much left at the end. So think about where you could use it. You can use this on your mantle. You can use it on your table for Christmas. It likes the cold, so feel free to leave the basket outside until you want to use it. In the heat, it will just go faster, but there's definitely going to be ways for you to use it. If you have like a holiday dinner party coming up, definitely utilize this extra cedar on your table or on your bar or wherever. There's lots of ways that you can use this. This piece is a little heavy, so I'm going to just do 3 for this one and layer that next piece. And anything you don't like, pull it off, cut it off. Just adjust as you go. So see, this has kind of like a crazy leggy piece. I'm just gonna yank that part off. And then we're gonna wrap that piece. So I'm placing it here, right on top, and then wrap, wrap, wrap with the wire. And I'm going pretty heavy with the green just because there is so much that we have today, so we might as well use a good bit of it. Now it's getting tricky because I don't have anywhere to rest my paddle wire. Okay. So you see how we're getting that crescent shape? We're almost to a stopping point up here. I'm gonna do one more grouping and then we are going to go in with our magnolia at the top, and then we're gonna do the other side with just this little pretty opening. So, same thing as before, you're taking your smaller pieces, grouping them together. So 3 to 4 pieces, 5 if you want it really full. Just make sure if you're doing more than 4, you're really, really wrapping it on with that wire. So this is 3. I'll cut 1 more. 4. Perfect. And then same as before, you're gonna layer it on top and you're gonna have your stems pointing upwards. And right there already I've got a protruding stem. So I'm gonna just trim that right after. So no pressure if you've got any imperfections. We can go around and trim at the end and perfect anything we see that we're not loving. So wrap. So I am laying that there. Actually, I'm gonna lay a little higher because I think that, yeah, so there. And then I'll wrap again. It's really just rinsing and repeating the same motion. And then once you get the hang of this, it's really just kind of, and if I could face my back to you the whole time, I would, because it would be so much easier. Like that. And then I think we're gonna go with one. Actually, let me grab my bow since we're at kind of a almost to the top point. Grab your bow and see how you feel about the placement. So I'm gonna put my bow off center. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna stop there with the cedar on this side, and I'm gonna go ahead and do my piece of magnolia at the top. So we've got a whole bunch of magnolia, and what you're really gonna need is probably like 2 pieces, maybe. So, and the same thing goes with the cedar. You're going to lay, so I've got these 2 stems. I'm gonna put them together, and I'm gonna lay them right like so. And this is perfect because it'll just have that accent of magnolia peeking out from behind the ribbon, which will be really nice. So same thing here, but you're gonna actually want these stems shorter. They will pretty much be hidden by the bow, but either way, that's how we're gonna do it. And we're just gonna wrap this on with the wire as well. So just place and wrap, same as before. And honestly, as you go, I feel like things just want to stay in place. So your work gets easier as you go, and you just get used to how the wrapping is. So I'm gonna wrap that on really tight, especially because these stems could be slippery. So just wrap the magnolia stems extra tight. And you can layer. If you want to use all your magnolia, you're more than welcome to. So what I would do right now is go in and add, actually, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna add, let's see, I don't have enough to do 3 pieces on both sides, so I'm not gonna add this, but if you wanted to use all of your magnolia, or if you had a couple extra stems of it, or smaller pieces, then go ahead and layer one more on top if you want more of a magnolia accent. I'm gonna leave it as is because my bow is gonna go right there, so that's that for me. And I think that's that for this side. So this is where the bow is gonna go. And you see how that magnolia is just like accenting it so beautifully. So bow will be there, as you can imagine. And then we're gonna start and do our cedar, starting from this side now. Okay, so same thing. And actually, since you're done with your wiring on this side, I would say cut like another generous loop, just in case, and really wind that wire around. You don't want anything to come loose, as my grapevine gets attached to my new sweater. So now we're gonna grab our cedar. I've got our paddle wire ready for the other side. We're gonna go ahead and grab our other cedar. We're gonna make these small bunches again. So with a piece like this, you can probably break this into 3. So I'll go ahead and do that. Three. And then I want one that's a little longer than these, so it makes that really nice drapey shape. And actually this is a little heavy, so pull that off as I make a mess. And you're going to layer those. And then, like I said, we're gonna leave some of it exposed. So I'm actually gonna start about here. And I'm gonna leave that little gap of grapevine right there because I think that's really pretty textural touch. So we're gonna start here, and we're gonna do the same as the other side. And again, there's so much cedar. If you wanna fill it in, that's totally up to you. I'm just kind of doing a little asymmetric wreath today with the grapevine exposed. I think it just looks a little more unique, but you are more than welcome to completely fill in this gap. So that's totally up to you. And same thing as the other side, you're gonna put your stems upwards. So you can leave that hanging part. And hopefully you can see, I know that it's a little dark, but you're gonna lay that right on top. And normally when I am putting that first piece on, you really just want to grab it with the wreath, and then you want to wrap. So, whoops, and as I let the wire slide out, make sure that it is tight, and mine is not. So for that first piece, you can kind of twist that wire on to make sure it's sturdy. There we go. And then start wrapping. Okay. And we've left a little bit of a gap, just enough to kind of see that texture peeking, but not where it looks empty. So wrap this piece on. Great, and I'll let my wire hang out there as we grow our next piece. So yeah, really you can start to see how much cedar you have and start thinking of other ways to utilize it. And maybe you have like a wreath that looks a little sad from a year before, or you want to freshen up another fresh wreath you have. You can definitely use all this extra cedar and do that. So we're going to do the same thing. Take our bunch of 3 to 4 stems. This one is actually just 2 because these are giant hardy pieces. So just use your judgment. If it looks like a ton, just pare down. And if it looks like not enough at 4 stems, just use more. So we're going to layer that right there. And hold on tight. And wrap, wrap, wrap. And now I'm getting in the groove on the right side, which I think might be your left side. So wrap nice and tight. I'm gonna leave my paddle wire there, which feels risky. So for now, and then same. Use these cedar tops. And you want to make sure that you have these stems nice and even, so nothing is sliding out when you're attaching. You can rip the bottoms of the cedar off, but you honestly don't have to. You can wrap it just as is. Just make sure that everything's the same length when you're cutting it. So this one is going to go right there on top, and we're nearing the finish line, which is really exciting. Finish line for the greenery. Now we're gonna add all the fun jingle jangles, as we call them, here. So wrap this around, nice and tight. Perfect. And you've got a lot of wire, so don't be afraid to really get in there. You want to make sure it's secure. You want to give it a good shake at the end and make sure that everything stays in place. And I'm actually going to have to grab another bunch to use. So same thing. Cut. These are a little skinnier. So I'm going to use 4. I think, yeah. So you're going to layer those beautifully, and then we are going to lay that right on top. And I've kind of tapered it a little bit here on the bottom and lay it on the top. Grab our paddle wire, and again, don't be afraid if you need to wrap it around the greens right in the center there, you totally can. So wrap. No one's gonna know that you have all this wire around here. Keep wrapping. And more. You just want to make sure it's really secure. Okay. So now I think this might be our last piece of greens. So go ahead and grab the next 4 or 3 pieces that you want to use and layer those again. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's super repetitive until we start adding the other things. You're just doing the same exact thing. So the bottom of your wreath might look a little like a mess, but the top will be perfect because you've gotten the hang of it. So I'm gonna layer this here, and you really get nice coverage with this. So it's not, it is totally fine to lay it higher because you do get that nice coverage. So, but just make sure you're covering the wire and the mechanics from before. So we're gonna lay that there, and this is a little tricky for me because I have mine on an easel, so it gets a little tricky, sticky to wrap it at the top. I'm gonna power through. Wrap. I don't want this to fall off of my easel. Okay. Make sure you're pulling tight because you don't want those things to slide. The stems. Okay, beautiful. And now, since we're nearing the top, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my bow, and we are going to place our bow where we think we want it. And I am gonna put the magnolia on this side. And see if I have enough greenery. So magnolia is gonna be like this. Like that. And then our bow is gonna live here. So I actually think that's perfect. I don't think I need to take time to put any more cedar. I think we've definitely got enough coverage. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach this magnolia. And since it's so close to the top, and this is how I'm doing it, see those stems are sticking out? We're just gonna trim those after we wrap it. So just go ahead and wrap with the paddle wire. And again, if you want more, you can layer them a little further apart. I'm just doing this small accent, so I'm just gonna lay them pretty much on top of each other. And then I'm going to wrap. I'm gonna come over here now. I'm gonna wrap these stems on super duper tight. So we're fixing that there, and just make sure that it's angled at the right way. And that both sides look very similar. And if you want to, once you've wrapped your magnolia on, if you feel like you have any sort of gaps or any sort of big chunks of wire showing or anything, you could definitely go in and take a couple pieces of that cedar, because look how much we have left, and just kind of fill in. So what you would do is just take a little piece, stick it in, do a wrap with a wire, and golden. So just use that critical eye and make sure that you're loving how it all looks. And I am going to finish wrapping this. And you really want to, again, make sure that magnolia is wrapped really tight because you want to make sure it doesn't slide. So you don't want it to fly out in the wind, etc. There we go. Everything is wrapped. We have I'm going to go ahead and trim these. Even though I know the bow is going to cover it, they're going to bother me. So that's just me. Trim, trim. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to wrap on this grapevine a few times just for security purposes with that paddle wire. And then cut. Beautiful. And so you're now going to grab your bow. We're going to go ahead and affix our bows before we put any of our dried goods or ornaments on. So you have another wire. So if you need the other wire, you're more than welcome to grab that. I think that mine is actually long enough for me to just wrap it right around my wreath. So you've got this wire. My glove is ripped, but you've got these long wires right there. And these are just going to wrap and hug your grapevine. And then in the back, you're going to twist it a few times. You really want it to be secure. Twist, 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 and then twist again. And then once you've got your bow, look how pretty that's looking. You can really fluff it and make it just how you want. Straighten these. Perfect. And then you've got your tails. And for now, since the tails are just going to be in the way of everything else, I'm just going to kind of tuck them behind. Since it's wire, actually, I can wrap that right there. Okay. And the next thing we're going to do is add, so now that we've got that, which by the way, if you don't like it to be asymmetrical, you can put this bow right on the top and it's the same look for your wreath. So I just like that looks a little different with these hanging down. How fun is that? So put those to the side and then we're going to start cramming things in. And what I'm going to do first is these little pearlescent guys. You've got two of these. You're going to put one on both sides, one on each side. And with this grapevine, you're going to notice that everything is very easily stuck into it and will stay secure. If for some reason it doesn't feel secure, take your paddle wire and wrap it around it. For these, I think they'll be totally fine just stuck in. So that's what I'm going to do. So on this side, I'm going to go right in there. How cute is that? And then I'm going to do the same on this side, and I'm going to stick that. Actually, I need to cut that. Stick that right. And I'm kind of tucking the stem right behind the magnolia, so it's hidden. And then you've got this accent of white. So cute, right? They look like little snowballs. And these are wire, so you can bend them however you want. You can leave them really close together. You can kind of give them more shape. It's totally up to you. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our dried goods, and then we're going to do our ornaments. So the dried things we have are our mushrooms and our pine cones. So we've got gold, we have natural pine cones, and we have these natural mushrooms. I have 3. You should have an assortment. I'm not sure about numbers, but just make it however you think looks right for you. So I'm going to take these, and same thing with these. These should be totally fine, just jammed into the grapevine. These are just really cool for texture, and it's not as easy to jam it in there as I thought. But once it's in, it will be secure. Okay, so got one right there. And you can kind of move these at an angle or, okay, and then there. And since those kind of look like twins, I'm gonna do one low down here so it's off. So it's not exactly matching on both sides. Like that. Perfect. And the next thing I'm gonna do is take our pine cones and we're gonna start sticking those in. So when we're sticking these in, we're really just gonna put them in groupings. You don't wanna like polka dot your pine cones, just like we don't polka dot roses in our arrangements. So you're gonna want groupings. So since we've got a lot, I think we have about 9 or more. We have more than 9, but we'll do little groupings of 3. So I'm gonna take gold, and then I'm gonna go with a natural, and I like to face them all down, but that's totally personal preference. If you want like a grouping and then you want one up, like that looks really nice. So it's totally up to you. So with this grouping, I'm gonna do 2 natural and the gold. And then with this lower part, I've got more. So I'm gonna definitely do at least 2 together. And then, yeah, perfect. And then on this side, I'll do a grouping of 3 and a grouping of 2. So I did 2 natural and a gold. So just try to create balance. I've got 2 natural and gold, so I'm gonna now do 2 gold and a natural. So gold, gold, and a small natural one. Like that. And then, actually as we're going, I'm noticing that this cedar is drooping a little more than I want, so I'm gonna just paddle wire that once, twice around, just so I can really get it draping how I intended. Much better. Okay. So then on this side, I'm gonna go, it's getting dark out, so I'm gonna move to this side, and we are going to go in with a natural up here, right next to that mushroom, and then a gold right up close to the magnolia. So like that, and you can really see how that's coming together. It looks so pretty. And then I've got like a big gold one, so I'm gonna put that right on top of this big mushroom, tuck that in, and then we're going to put other gold. And these don't have to be always right on top of each other, so this will be my trio. They'll be close by, but not right next to each other. That, look how pretty that is. That goes looking a little floppy to the back. And then the next thing we're gonna do is wire our ornaments. So our ornaments, the easiest way to do this is to take, you don't wanna just do one at a time, it's gonna take forever. So you've got all these stakes and you're welcome to stake as many of them individually if you would like. For me, I like to wire 2 or more together. So then you can just affix a group to them and not every single one individually. You'll be here all night. So you string them all onto the wire and this hyacinth stake, and see how they're all on that. And then you're gonna pull that tight, and then you're gonna wrap that wire around the hyacinth stake. So we're all like that. So now that you've got your little grouping, you can stick those in, and they're all attached. See how nice that is? a lot easier than one at a time. And when you're doing groupings, just kind of try to mix your metallics, so don't do all gold together and all silver. We're doing a mixed metallic look, so just do them all mixed. So I'm gonna do a sparkly gold, a shiny silver, and then this little matte gold. So trio, pull that tight, tight, tight. So they're all grouped together on your stake, and wrap that around. Around, around, around. Thanks for sticking with me through this. This is definitely a longer class, but you know, you're making something that will last you through the holiday season, so it's worth it. And I'll come back on this side again since I know I'm blocking the light. And for these ornaments, I'm gonna stake them downwards because you don't want them to fall out. You don't want anything to fall out, but I'm less worried about the pine cones. These ornaments are not breakable, but if you stake them down, they're gonna stay in way better. So angle those stakes in the wreath like that. So same kind of thing, and actually I've got so many of these sparkle gold ones, so I'm gonna go in with another sparkly gold, and it's got sparkly gold, sparkly silver, and the shiny silver together. And I'm doing these grouped with a little one and two bigs. After this trio, I'm actually just gonna make some duos, I think, just to kind of keep everything all different. So, and since I've got this silver one up high, I'm gonna put this one down low so there's room between them and they're not on top of each other. Love it. One more trio, and then I'll go in with a duo. And you don't have to use all of these at all. It's totally personal preference. So 1, 2, 3. These are all gold, but it's fine because we'll put silver near it. So string those on the wire, wrap your wire around your stake, and then stick these in. I'm gonna put this right down there. Oops, that one actually just broke, so I'm not gonna use that. Perfect. I like the duo anyway. And then I'm gonna do one last duo. And depending on what you have, obviously just use your judgment and do either 2 or 3 together. If you have an odd number or whatever it may be, just make it work. So I've only got 2 more because I did just break that one, but if you have 3 more, great. If you have 1 more, perfect. Just tuck it in near something else. Wire, wire, wire. And we are finally at the finish line. So we've got these 2. I'm seeing this little gap right here. So that's where they're gonna go. And again, direct them down. So if you wire too tight, the tops will pop off, which is what just happened to me. So just be mindful of that. Just like that. Since these are unbreakable, they could pop off on you while you're doing this. They're gonna stay, but they're gonna stay once they're in. There you go. So that is our finished product. Obviously fluff, fluff, fluff. And I'm gonna perfect my little crimps, get my ribbon tails ready to go. And that is your holiday wreath. And the extra wire, if you didn't need it for tying on your ribbon to your wreath, you can use that to hang it. Just wrap it around the grapevine wreath, and then you'll be able to affix it to a wreath hook. Everything should be secure. What you want to do when you're done, this is risky doing this for you guys, but you want to give it a good shake and make sure that things are not going to fall off. Since it has been so windy, there is an option. You can wire your ribbon to your wreath if you feel like you're really worried about it blowing away. So what I would do is take your little paddle wire and just kind of wrap it around. And you can wrap it in. If you want to split it, you can do it like that. Then you can wire within the ornaments and like that. I'm going to leave mine hanging because mine is going to stay inside the shop here for show. But that's it. That's your wreath. Make sure you give it that good shake. Tie on anything at the end that you feel like might be loose because we don't want anything to blow away on you. And yeah, I think that's all I have for you today. And thank you so much for joining us as always. And we look forward to seeing any of you at our mantle workshop, which is still open for registration, and our Christmas centerpiece workshop. So definitely sign up for those and join us. And we hope this brings some holiday cheer to your door this year. Thank you so much for bearing with me through this hour-long workshop, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.